What's going on, everybody? TheKennyDubz here with another Mega Man X Dive character overview video. Today we're going to be taking a look at Gore iCO as she releases soon in the global version. All right, so here we're taking a look at Gore iCO or iCO, and I really like Gore iCO. I just like iCO in general. Actually, realistically, but real quick, let's take a look at her splash screen. Actually, I really like this as well, because I like the aura attacks and like the little frenzy spheres that she has going on there, and like how Sugar Armor X also has the frenzy spheres as well. But let's take a look at her active skills. So first up, we have Clumsy Kiss. Fires 3 rounds of frenzy shot that ignore terrain and track targets that deal 134% attack damage to the target, which isn't bad. If all 3 connect, then obviously, then you would just simply multiply that times 3, and you'll do a lot more damage overall. So here we are with the modifier chips. We have power increase damage by 5% because we gotta have this. I feel like this is a staple, at least somewhere in each character's kit. We have mobility, which reduces the preparation time by 20%, which isn't bad there. And finally, we have the positioning system, which is probably what you're going to have on, for most of the time at PvE or PvP. Increases range by 15% and enhances the tracking effect. I have this on just because I recently raised her to 4-star. So I'm going to actually switch that now. Next up for her secondary skill here, we have the Jealous Hug skill, which is actually pretty interesting. And side note, I really don't know why they went for these skill names. I said this when I saw the character trailer. I was like, I don't really know why they went Clumsy Kiss and Jealous Hug. I'm like, I don't, it's, whatever. Anyway, launch a dash towards a target dealing 302% attack damage, which is good. It is a dash skill. It does fat damage, and you have some other things tacked onto it as well. After hitting the target, it will cause the target to slow down and become immobilized. Slow down and become immobile. And I don't remember, because I don't like the way they word this, right? Because it's a slow down and become immobile. So those are two different status effects. I think this inflicts slow. It's been a little while since I used her. I will go check and see. But I think it's slow. I don't think it's immobilized for this skill. And we'll do continuous damage. So targets in range with Avalanche of Doom. You do not take any damage, negative side effects during use. So you already have this skill is loaded, right? It deals good damage. You have true showtime on it, and it has a status effect associated with it. So that is fantastic there. Okay, I actually looked on the wiki, and they had critical information for me this time. It actually is immobilized. Then I don't know why it's slowed down and become immobile for this. That just seems really weird to word it that way. When they just say become, immobilized like they usually do instead of saying slow down and become immobile. Unless it inflicts both, but I don't think that it does. Anyway, for the modifier chips, we have, as per usual, power increase, because you gotta have this. Mobility reduces trap time by 20%, which isn't bad. And then finally, we have restriction off. Jealous Hug can be used again after the launch of Jealous Hug. And this effect can only trigger once or after a 7-second cooldown. And I'm pretty sure the cooldown time for this is about 6 or 7 seconds. So when this comes off cooldown, you can just use it again. So that's actually pretty shocking that they would have it just like once this comes off cooldown. You can just launch, you just launch both of them again. Next up, the passive skills. First up, we have the Frenzy Might. Again, a frenzy status that cannot be removed, which is very important. That removed every 25 seconds, increasing damage dealt by 20% and reduces damage taken by 20%. So this is actually really good here because it is a status effect that cannot be removed, and it amplifies your damage and mitigates incoming damage as well. Also releases a Calamity Force Field around oneself periodically, dealing 65% attack damage targets within range. Good, I like that. I like it even more because I didn't realize that they showed you that they gave you like an actual number and how much the field does. So that's even better there. So this is actually a pretty loaded passive, like I mentioned, because it has damage amplification, damage mitigation, and then it deals continuous damage if whatever the opposition is too close to you, which is pretty nice there. Next up, we have the Frenzy Virus, much like Sugar Armor X has, when hitting a target with Clumsy Kiss, Jealous Hug, or Calamity Force Field. So either using either skill or just existing because of Calamity Force Field. Caused a defense crush state, increased damage dealt by 24%, which is good. Increased damage, so you already have you have a pseudo 40% or 44% damage increase in your kit because of the increase from this and then the decrease from this. When hitting a player with jealousies, also inflict a healing reduction status, reducing damage by 60%. Again, this is also nice as well because this means characters like Eratoire, yes, her. She's probably a relevant character that I didn't think of last time. That heals periodically with her skills. So she'll have healing dampened by 60% there, which is pretty nice. And dampen just means reduction, right? I tend to say dampen because I played other games. Like Final Fantasy Record Keeper, they used that terminology when you had a healing reduction status placed on you. Next up, we have Hunter, which is actually interesting because she's wearing the monster hunter armor, but the skill's called Hunt. And anyway, it's just like a minor thing. I'm just like, oh, that's interesting. Hitting a target with Clumsy, Kiss, and Frenzy status, release additional Calamity Corrosion to continue to damage your target. This is something they don't give me the numbers for, and it isn't, and I don't believe it's on the wiki either. Number on that isn't on the wiki. When dashing forward on a frenzy state with Jealous Hug, release 3 additional rounds of mini tracking frenzy shot that ignore terrain, deal damage to the target. So this just basically allows you to deal extra damage with your skills, which isn't bad. So when you do your Jealous Hug, you get some frenzy shots. When you deal Clumsy Kiss, you get Calamity Corrosion, which I think is similar to this. I don't know if the damage would be similar to this though, that I'm not sure of. And next up we have Enhanced Black Venom. Become accelerated after using Jealous Hug, increases movement speed by about 38%, gain enhanced defense state, and take 20% less damage when activating Clumsy Kiss. Not bad. These buffs can be removed, so you just have to be careful about that. But you also gain a shield when being hit that protects against under 5% attack damage, correctly activated once again after 8-second cooldown. Just like Shigara Armor X, you have speed, defense, and shield. Actually, I don't remember if Shigara Armor has defense, but I know he has speed. I'm pretty sure he has speed and shield. The same potency shield as well, which is very, very nice for Gore iCO. She has a lot in her kit, which is very, very good. And then finally, we have Jealous Hug Chaos. Launching dash attack with Jealous Hug eliminates the iframes after hitting the target, which is actually very, very relevant because this is her skill that she can spam to an extent. So this is the skill that does 300% attack damage. It is the lunge, so she can use it as a gap closer, just engage or disengage. But if you're engaging with it, you can also just shred through the iframes. Now, obviously, luckily it mentions it here, will not work on targets that are in the debuff. So as long as the opposition does not have some kind of preventive shield, or they don't have true showtime on whatever they're doing, you'll be able to pierce through their iframes, which is very, very nice. Calamity Kiss, Jealous Hug, and Calamity Force Field will cause the target to burn and take an additional roughly 13% damage every half a second. And when you hit a target in continuous damage status, increase the damage deal by 20%, which again is very, very nice. So she has quite a few multipliers in her kit, realistically. Enhanced damage by 20% when hitting a target in continuous damage status. You have the every 24 seconds you get the the 20% damage amplification, 20% damage mitigation. You also get the 24% damage increase from the debuff as well. And yeah, that's really it for Gore iCO's skills. As you see, she does not have DNA here. She does not have any unique cards either. So let's head on over to some weapons that might pair well with her. Alright, so much like Shigara Armor X, Gore iCO doesn't have any weapon that she particularly cares about. Now, what she does have in her kit is damage that would get amplified by continuous damage status, so you might want to use some of those, but kind of as per usual, I'm just going to recommend things that are just like kind of generically good. So basically just the hybrid Buster melee setup. You don't necessarily need to run Air Buster, but it is something that you can run if you want to become speed. Outside of that, you just want to talk about the sniper buster, so like your explosive bolts, your actual sniper buster. Sniper buster is a little bit worse than explosive bolt. Explosive bolt, I think, is the best option overall as a sniper style weapon right now. Explosive bolt has multiple options for the hidden skill. I always recommend player killer, just because player killer is the easiest one to use. You can just use this and and not necessarily worry about needing to use penetration. Penetration has higher potential damage output, but penetration requires a bit more finesse to use because you need to actually line up the shot and get the ricochets off so that you actually deal relevant damage. But like I said, player killer is just easier to use, so I always recommend player killer. And penetration is a bit more reliant on the setup, the stage, because in more open stages, you won't be able to really ricochet the shots that well. So that's why, like I said, player killer is just easier to use. You can also even really, if you want to play keep away with Gore iCO because of her S1, the friendly shots, you can kind of just play that. You can use one of the long range snipe boost. I don't recommend that, but I mean, it's something that you can do if you really want. Aside from the explosive bolt, we have the Hawk Precision Buster. Now, as per usual, I like the way this looks. I don't like this thing in practice because this does have the capability of piercing terrain. However, in order for it to pierce terrain, you have to hit the target first in mid to long range to trigger your quick hunt status. And then after that, once you're in the quick hunt status, you can pierce terrain with this weapon. So that's why I don't really like this weapon. It does deal pretty good damage though. And once it's up and running, I think it's pretty good. But outside of that, I want to mention the Destructive Laser as well. Destructive Laser is another sniper style buster. It is a bit weaker than a sniper buster, but it has a higher rate of fire. So that is a option you can use as well. I forgot to mention for the sniper buster in particular, sniper buster is available for free because you can make it in the lab once you hit research level 8. You can make sniper buster memories for free, so you can make this one for free at some point. Moving on to the melee weapons here, as per usual, Nightmare. Nightmare is just a good weapon. You use Nightmare just because it gets a stackable attack boost, and all you really need to do is swing it around. That's really it. You don't have to do anything else, and then you just get the attack boost, and you deal more damage with that. You have to watch out for Grudge X shenanigans. We have the Ancient Relic. An Ancient Relic, I think, is a pretty decent option outside of the general utility I recommend it for Gore iCO in particular. Now, while it is good for its utility here, whether it's the speed rune, the protective rune, or basically these two. Though even with these two, you don't really even really need this weapon on Gore iCO, to be quite honest, because she has a much better shield, so you don't need the shield, and she has a speed boost that's better. You can still use this because they should stack. However, the reason why I kind of like this on Gore iCO is because of the burn. Now, the burn is relevant because Gore iCO actually does more damage. 20%, she gets a 20% damage increase, which is a target in continuous damage status, and burn puts a target in continuous damage status, which is quite nice as well to make note of and to use. So that's something you can use there. Gotta mention Grudge Axe. As per usual, I don't really like this weapon, but this weapon is just really, really good. The reason why this weapon is really, really good is because of the out of control and inflicts is very nice. However, it also has this ability right here. When hitting a target, there's a chance to gain a random buff, which is why this weapon's really good, because dash slashing allows you to just continuously gain chances to roll RNG to get this buff, and you have a 60% chance with each attack that you do to steal a buff. So that's pretty good there. However, this is not as effective versus Gore iCO because while she does have some buffs you can steal, her main buff can't be stolen. You still have to watch out though because of she does have buffs you can steal, like her speed buff, her defense buff, and her shield can all be stolen. I mentioned Singularity Slasher as well. Singularity Slasher is like a side grade to the Grudge Axe. You could use this in place of Grudge Axe. I think Grudge Axe is infinitely better. But what Singularity Slasher does that makes it comparable to Grudge Axe is instead of taking the buffs and bestowing them to you, what this does is this just raw dispels the buffs. However, why dispel the buffs when you could just take the buffs that the opposition has to use them for yourself? The trade-off is that Singularity Slasher can actually, it's guaranteed for Singularity Slasher, right, to get rid of one buff, and with the hidden skill you get rid of two, I believe. But like I said, I think Grudge Axe is better. Also for Grudge Axe, I forgot to mention, it has its hidden skills available now in global. Yes, I'm pretty sure I remember them being in global anyway. These are all actually pretty solid things you can pick. You can get the out of control special attack, high speed recharge, dash slash, or the weapon strike. weapon spot strike. This is what you're going to have, the weapon spot strike, if you're a raider. But out of control special attack isn't bad either, just because this weapon naturally inflicts out of control 60% of the time, or you have 60% chance to roll it. So that's pretty good there. Now, I tend to not really recommend weapons all that often if they're not available in the global version. However, I do want to talk about this weapon right here, the Red Lotus Saber, because we might get this weapon pretty soon, from what I hear, in the global version of the game. So I do want to throw this in. Red Lotus Saber. First of all, this weapon looks pretty cool. Apparently, this is from Command Mission, which would explain why it looks pretty cool. Kind of has that Command Mission vibe. But this weapon is very, very good. So let's take a look at what it actually does, since I've never gone on this weapon. This weapon has guaranteed burn, 16% damage, 16% attack damage every half a second, which is very, very nice. It also has armor crush, so increases damage by 24%. Conflagration, enhance the burning effect. It also has fiery pursuit, which gives you a speed boost when hitting a target that is burning. And has Red Lotus Salvo. When attacking, release a huge pillar of fire that continuously deals 150% attack damage to all targets within range of that fire pillar, which is very, very nice there. As for the hidden skills, it shouldn't drop when this weapon drops. However, what you have in here, continuing damage special attack, which you're going to want if you're using it aside Gore iCO. Boss killer, that's not you're going to be useful for PvP, but you use it if you're in raid. And again, as per usual, like I said, I try not to talk about weapons all that much if they're not available in the global version when the characters come out. But I did want to throw this one in because, like I said, I think it's coming out pretty soon, and I think it's a pretty good fit on Gore iCO if you're using the Buster melee setup on her. I'm going to throw Acidic Machine Gun in here as well. Acidic Machine Gun is a pretty good weapon. It also has continuous damage status, so you know what that means. You can now use this to poke from range with Gore iCO. Trigger her passive so that it deal additional damage when attacking something that's in continuous damage. On top of that, this has toxic missiles, and what that allows you to do is that they ignore terrain, and then they also can deal continuous damage status. So you can get the damage on them and get the damage amplification for Gore iCO without even being an LOS, unobstructed LOS of the target, which is very, very nice. And Acidic Machine Gun is a pretty good weapon overall. Moving on to sprayers, Gator Fangs. Gator Fangs just a fantastic weapon overall as a sprayer. This is more going to be used once you finally close a distance. So once you get in there with your Jealous Hug, if you don't just eviscerate the opposition, then you can make use of this, because once you're up close and personal with this weapon, that is right where you want to be, and the opposition will hopefully be in for a bad time. No, first up, you have the Rending Fang. Deals additional damage at close range. Oh, I forgot to mention, this also makes it so that this also inflicts a pretty good slow on the opposition, on top of dealing a lot of damage. So it inflicts slow. It's harder for them to get away unless they have a enough shield. You also deal additional damage when you're in close range, and then if you're in close range, the Predator status gives you an increased shooting speed of 65% and an increased reload speed to the point where your reload becomes half a second. On top of that, what this also gives you access to is zero adaptability if you really want, but jamming. When Rending Fang hits, it causes interference which dispels one new buff. So if you really want, you could be dispelling buffs with jamming here, which is quite interesting. And then to go even a step further than that, if you really want to lean into the jamming here, you can actually give Gore iCO inherited DNA from someone that has Scourge, like Zero Nightmare, so that when you hit with jamming and it causes interference, you can remove all of their buffs instead of just the one buff. So that is an interesting little tech that you could do there. Gotta mention Lightbender. Lightbender is, again, it's one of those weapons that is very, very nice. Oh, I forgot to mention, I don't know if the hidden skill for this is on the global version of the game right now, but if it is, then you can opt to do this. If not, just something to be on the lookout for once it does get a hidden skill. But the Lightbender is a fantastic sprayer weapon. It doesn't look like a sprayer because it's like a giant saw blade, shoots circular saws for these skills. This also has jamming, so whatever the thing I mentioned about jamming on the Gator Fangs, that also applies to this, but the jamming on this one dispels 3 buffs. That's a lot better there. You also have additional damage from the benders here, so it deals 84% attack damage, and it shoots out 3 of them. So if all 3 connect, that is a lot more additional damage that you have access to there. You have Ultimate Streak, increases damage rate by 65%, which is quite nice. And then for this one, I don't think the hidden skill is active, but Interference Special Attack is something you can go for, or Short Range Boost. Next up for launches, we have the Decides Will at Home, the Cannon God. Cannon God is just Decides Will at Home, and pierces terrain. That's the big thing about this. It has decent range as well, and it can inflict immobilize status. And something else I wanted to mention with this is that it's a launcher, and that's relevant because it being a launcher means that you can put the Magma Dragoon chip on, and Magma Dragoon inflicts dot damage. And you know what dot damage means, or dot or continuous damage. That means that increases Gore iCo's damage by 20% because the enemy's in continuous damage status. Next up, Turbo Cannon. Turbo Cannon is just a good weapon. It has access to iframes with overheat protection. Just be aware that if you're going to go for the overheat protection, you need to watch out for the compression energy tank unlock, because this means that it takes you a bit longer to get to your iframes. Cyber Cannon is an option as well. I don't really like this one as much as the other options. However, this can pierce terrain as well. This also has access to the Starbreaker, additional damage there. Wait, where is it? Is it here? Ah, here it is. It's part of restriction off. So this also has interference here to dispel 2 buffs there. So that's something, I've seen the people want to use this for, but I'm just like, I don't really like this weapon all that much. But it is something that you can use if you want a ranged option for inflicting interference and dispelling buffs. And again, this is a launcher, so that means you can equip the Magma Dragoon chip on it should you choose to do that. And as for the hidden skills, for this one, you can go Energy Burst. The positioning system also isn't bad either. Star Fragment is something you can do as well. And finally, since I talked about it so much earlier, here we have the Decides Will. This is the better version of the Cannon God. What this weapon does and why it's so good, it is the premier ranger weapon, zoner weapon. So this weapon doesn't care if you're in a state of confusion, you can still auto aim. Doesn't care if your auto aim is turned off, you can still auto aim. And it pierces terrain, has laser, has mark damage. So it's just a good weapon. A lot of people don't like it because it's so good, but I mean, what can you do? It's just a Decides Will. All right, so cards. As per usual, they're going to depend on what you have covered in your DNA, or I guess in this case, what you don't have covered in your DNA, because Gore iCO doesn't actually have her own DNA right now. So, there's a lot more limiting in what you can have for her overall right now. You could still put some stuff in her inherited DNA, but I don't recommend that right now, simply because we don't know what she's going to get in her DNA later. However, cards are a different story. So just some generically good options for cards that you can throw in. Things such as Player Killer and things of that nature. And because I always start off with Player Killer, the Akuma card has a similar effect of Player Killer. Master of the Fist will be able to stack with any level of Player Killer because it's a different name. This is from the Street Fighter event, so hopefully most of you have this. If you don't, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know when this is coming back. However, a card that's Player Killer is also in the Street Fighter event is the M. Bison card. If you didn't get this either, don't worry. There's some other options for you there, but I did want to point out that this also has Player Killer. And you can stack this alongside itself because this is red yellow, so you put 2 reds on this, you get Player Killer 2, Player Killer 3, have one at 5-star, one at less than 5-star. However, we're going to talk about the Life Aura card from the token shop, because that's a Player Killer 2. Again, much like the M. Bison card, this is yellow, red, so you can stack this alongside itself. So you have Player Killer 2, Player Killer 3, and make use of that. And then the Sigma X4 card also has access to Player Killer 2. However, this is a green card, so this will not stack with itself. You'd have to find some other cards to stack with it to go in this color sequence here. And if for whatever reason you are balling on a budget, and you want to use player killer here. And when I say blowing on a budget, I mean instead of using the tokens, you would, for whatever reason, don't have tokens or something to that effect. There are some A rank cards which you can make use of as well, such as the Mac card. Mac has player killer 1 on it, as you can see here. But when you max out, it has player killer 2, so you can stack this alongside itself. This comes in a card pack though, so you will have to get a little bit of RNG in order to get this. There's also the Will Gator card, which you can get from the research lab as well. Green, yellow, so you can stack this alongside itself. But again, like you wouldn't really use these cards in particular unless you don't have the tokens to buy the other 2 cards I mentioned earlier. There are a few other cards that have player killer on them as well, like the violin card has player killer yellow stack this alongside itself or alongside base, I guess, if you really want. But again, you could just buy the base card from the token shop, so it's just better to do that. However, I did want to mention these as some other options. Moving back up a little bit here, we have the Elite Hunter. Elite Hunter, if you go in the Buster Melee setup, you're just going to use Elite Hunter, right? Elite Hunter is just one of the most flexible cards in the game, just because of how easily it is to access and just put on, like, basically any unit. It's like Buster Melee, double Elite Hunter, red card, and you're good to go. Not really much else to worry about. You get this from your guild, so you might need to be a bit lucky in order to get this. But once you get to 5 stars, you get a 10% damage amplification, 10% damage mitigation, and then you slap that next to a less than 5-star copy, and then you get a total of 18% damage mitigation and 18% damage amplification just from these 2 cards for simply existing while you have access to a Buster and a melee card. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Kenny, what about a red card that goes with them? Well, luckily for you, there is another red card that you can get for free, actually from the Deep Recorder. It is the Access Memories card. This has Buster Amplification 3 on it, or Buster Amplification 2 on it. Mine has Buster Amplification 3 because I'm a 5-star. But if I go, if I go to a non-5-star copy of it, you see I Buster Amplification 2, triggers off of red-blue, so this will trigger once you put it next to Elite Hunters, and if, like I said, if you put it to 5-star, you will get the double amplification here. And then as another red card, I have to put a picture of it because I don't have it on this account, but the Twin Heroes card, it has melee amplification, melee adaptability on top of it. The triggers off of blue, red, so it's also a really good combination to put alongside the double Elite Hunter combo. So if you have that, you can use it. The downside with that one is you either had to buy that one during its first run in the global version, or you had to have been playing, I think March, it was the card for the monthly rewards then. So hopefully you got it then. If not, I don't know when that card is coming back. If you're unlucky with getting the Elite Hunter card, you can definitely use a Successfully Completed card. Successfully Completed only has the amplification, it doesn't have the mitigation. However, you can stack this with itself as it triggers off of blue-green. So you can just do 2 of these and alongside a green card, and you'll have the 18% damage amplification. Also got to mention the X and Zero card as well as a potential use for alongside the double Elite Hunter setup. It has Buster Adaptability 2 on it inherently. Triggers off of red blue. When you get it to 5-star, leave Buster Adaptability 3. So this is something you can use as well. And I think it's from a monthly reward as well. I don't remember, but this is an option as well. Skill development is an option if you're very unlucky with getting the Buster Melee set up from your guild. If you can get either of the S rank cards, this is A rank cards, so just be a little bit easier to get. Again, though, this only has the amplification, and even at then, it's only for at level 1 for less than 5-star. Once you get the 5-star, it is level 2. So total, you can only get 14% from this one, but 14% is still pretty decent in terms of the amplification. It's only 4% less than if you had the S rank versions. All right, that will be it for Gore iCO. All in all, I really like this unit. Now, the question that a lot of you may be asking yourselves, should you pull for Gore iCO? I think she is a very good unit for PvP. I use it in PvE as well, but I think she's much better at PvP. She can be useful versus raids as well, but I think between Shigaru Armor X and Gore iCO, I think that Shigaru Armor X might be a bit better for raids. But you could definitely use her in raids as well. I just don't think she's as good as Shigar Armor X. And like I said, should you pull for her? I think she's worth it. Yeah. If you're more PvP side, or maybe if you're more of a collector. Now, I did ask 0x if the rates for her are going to be the same as they are for Shigar Armor X. What I mean by that is, some of you might have seen my video from last week that I made about Shigar Armor X. In the Taiwan version of the game, this version that I'm playing this on, recording this on right now, when Shigar Armor X and Gore iCO released, they had die festival rates after the rate increase. So there was an 8% chance of S rank character. So overall, a better chance of pulling the characters from the pool, and a 2% chance of getting the feature character. And Shigar Armor X wasn't at that rate. However, Zero said that Gore iCO probably will be. Hopefully she is. And if she's not, if you're okay with the rates being lower than what they were in the Taiwan version, because Nebula Joy didn't feel like raising them to the Die Festival rates, go ahead and pull for her. If you don't like how they're not giving them Die Festival rates, then you can just skip out on them and maybe pick them up later on down the line when they get their DNA, because even the Taiwan version, as you can see right now, like I mentioned earlier, they don't have DNA. So they will get rebrand at some point to get their DNA, right? We just don't know when that is. Maybe it'll be, maybe it'll be next week. Who knows? But that will be it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. I'll share lots of videos, social media related content. Quick shout out to my YouTube channel members and my patrons for continuing to support me, allow me to do what I do. If you'd like to support me as a YouTube channel member or as a patron, you can find the links and information for that down below in the video description. And I will catch you guys next time. Later.